All right, we're gonna call the meeting to order. Want to say good evening to everybody. At this time, we're gonna have our invocation by Councilman Blue.
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you for this opportunity to come together. We ask that you just bless each one in this room. God, we pray that we make decisions, Lord, that be pleasing in your eyesight. Lord, that will lift up the children and the staff of Hope County Schools. Bless us and keep us in this meeting. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Can we get an approval for the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda for tonight, September 12th.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight, and it's been second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay. So the only thing I have to report tonight is that I heard on today that our band was chosen to perform in Raleigh at DPI. And from what I heard, they did an excellent job, and they also received an award from the superintendent of North Carolina State. So I thought that was very, very good. Great way to start off our school year. So I want to congratulate them whenever we get the opportunity and thank them for being a good sport and going up there and performing the way they did. So at this time, we have any public comments, Attorney Malone?
None.
No. Okay. So we're at the consent agenda. We have the minutes for August 8th and the 24th. I don't know if you all had time to read them. Got them tonight.
Everybody's good.
And August 8th, 22nd, and the 24th. Anybody have any questions about the minutes for August 8th? I just have the 22nd and the 20th. Marcia, I don't have the 8th in mine. I just have the 22nd and the 24th. Do anybody have the 8th, August 8th?
The 22 and the 24.
No, I don't have any.
The agenda just says 20.
And from here it says, on mine it says, August 8th, 22nd, and the 24th.
Oh, that is, okay.
Oh, okay. Mhm. Okay. Okay, anybody have any questions about August 8th, minutes? August 22nd? August 24th? Okay, we don't have any questions about them. And we already did the motion to approve the agenda. So next on the item is White Oaks. Anybody have any questions about the scholarship program for White Oaks? Get a chance to read over that. Next on the item is administration, information, the selection of the project manager.
Madam Chair.
Mhm.
I did not get the, are we approving anything on the White Oak School Scholarship Program?
We
And
did.
Madam Chair, if it'll be,
on item number 2 of the consent agenda.
Mhm.
you're not approving any money allocation or anything like that. What we're approving is that we'd be fiscally responsible for the check when it comes from the North Carolina Community Foundation. Ms. McNeil raised $40,000 to be able to endow a scholarship that 2 students from our high schools in Hope County each year will be able to get a $1,000 scholarship.
I think he's asking, are we approving the consent agenda?
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
We
Sorry.
have not.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye. You had questions about it, Ruben?
I just wasn't clear, Madam Chair, on the White Oak School Scholarship. Can you elaborate a little bit more what you were talking about?
Yes, sir. I've met with Ms. McNeil, back in the 1st of August. She was telling me about the scholarship. And the target was to raise $40,000. And she has it raised. And in order for the North Carolina Community Foundation to be able to issue scholarships for our kids in the spring in 24, we need to have it approved before the end of September of 23. But there's no money coming from tax dollars on this. What they'll do is that we'll set up, like we do with several other scholarships, we'll set up a committee. Whichever students are selected, the money will be sent to us from the North Carolina Community Foundation. And then we'll send a check to the college, University Technical College, that they're going to for them. It'll be $1,000 for 2 students.
So when the time comes to present the scholarship to the students, who's doing the presentations?
She will. She will.
Yeah, it's gonna be Mr. Neal more than likely.
Thank you.
So, Catherine, can you repeat the motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
And a motion on the floor to, approve the consent agenda, and it's been second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next on the, agenda is administration, information item, the selection of the project manager.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. I think maybe about a month ago or so, we started a conversation about selecting a project manager for our current project that's taking place here at Hope County High School. We had 2 names at the time, Mr. Robert Bill and Mr. John Barath, whose resumes and award letters of interest are up there. Mr. Bill has a background, I think they're more along the lines of military experience, overseeing some projects with them. And then also Mr. Barath has the experience in public education as well as working with an architect company, and has also served in the role of assistant superintendent for operations, if I'm not mistaken. But however, there was a 3rd person that has also here recently submitted a letter of interest in that, and that information is not up there. I was able to share that information and have a conversation with Dr. Shotwell about this particular person tonight, and I'll just give you some information on there. And his name is Don Schapp, and I hope I'm pronouncing that last name correctly. But he has a background in construction and construction management. Here recently, back in 2018, he worked on a $23 million contract with LREMC in Pembroke. So over in Pembroke on Highway 71, he overseen or helped in the construction management aspect and acting as the owner's representative for their headquarters building in Pembroke, the Columbia River Electric Association. Also to go along with that, he's worked with the owner's he's been the owner's representative in Wake County Housing Project. And he's also did several other ones, some large multi-million-dollar contracts. So he did send over his resume as well as, some background information about the projects that he's worked on, along with, pictures of those projects. And I will send this information out to all of you so that you can have that as well. But I think that the purpose here is to try to select a time and a date in order to have participation in a meeting with these, three gentlemen so that we can move forward in selecting a project manager.
How do you spell the last name?
SCHAAP. And the name of that company is, I created D. Shap and Associates LLC. So D. Shap and Associates LLC. And that company was created in 2016.
Chuck,
Chuck, was there a deadline for, these interests of letters or resumes? Has to get done?
No, we didn't, put out an RFP or RFQ, any type of information about any type of deadline for a submission. Not sure exactly how this gentleman got to come aware of the information that was submitted. But, you know, it all started with that conversation, and from the conversation that we had several months ago with, Mr. Barath, then we, about a month later, we gained another letter of interest, and now this one, a month after that.
And we just got this probably less than 2 hours ago.
Okay, so,
Madam Chair. So my question is to the staff, have we met with these three individuals?
no, sir, not at this time.
Is there a plan to meet with these individuals so we can,
That's what he was just saying.
like,
Finding the time.
we're gonna determine the time today or another time?
We need to.
This has just been going on. I think we should have somebody.
Yes, sir, yeah, so you are correct, this has been kind of a lingering process, and we do want to kind of expedite it. We are extending the offer to the board members to participate if you're so willing to do so. If we can all find a time and a date to agree upon. Mr. Barath got in contact with me recently, wanted to know if that opportunity for a discussion was is still available. I told him that we were in discussions of trying to plan that information so that we could reach out to all three people and plan a date and time to have the conversation with each of them.
Madam Chair, so are we gonna be involved besides the voting process or not?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so it's an open invitation to the board members to participate if you are available to do so. If you'd like for me to, I can put together several dates, over the course, hopefully to have these meetings and discussions by the end of the month with these three gentlemen, and, share that out with all the board members so that we can find a date and time that works with each of you. And from there, we can plan that, and I'll be in touch with these three gentlemen to, schedule them to come and have a face-to-face meeting and discussion. Okay.
You're gonna send the information out to all of us.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm talking about his resume.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next on the item is the HCS BOE hosting platform for Hope County Schools Board policies. Dr. Shotwell, you were gonna talk about that?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. What I'm sharing with you here is that there are 80 out of 115 school districts that use their hosting platform. And basically what that means is that when you go to, let's say, Bladen County, and you click on Board of Education, it's going to say Board of Education Policy Manual. When you click it, it's going to go to a site that's going to have all the policies listed from the 1000 series down to the 9000 series. And you really just put in a search word And then it'll light up and show you every policy that you can refer that term to. And because one of the issues that I personally encountered, we do have the policy. We've been a subscriber to the School Boards Association policies. But the problem is that trying to find what we have it on a Google Drive, but sometimes when I'm looking, it'll send me to other places on the Google Drive that doesn't have anything to do with the policies. And so what I've had to do is go back to other people's websites, see what policy number that it has, and see if that number matches up with us or not. Because this is, what you see here, there's a one-time setup fee of $1,250, and then there's an annual subscription fee of $3,650. And if you all approve this in October at the board meeting, then they'll prorate it based on when we made the approval, so it won't be a full $3,650.
Right, so the benefit of having this service is that I can find something quicker on one of the policies that we have.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
I mean, have you tried other methods other than try to subscribe on something else? It just seems to me that not just me, spending $3,600 per year just so I can type in a word, so I can be directed to a policy.
Can I, Madam Chair? So I will say this, let's ignore the cost over for a second. So like when an issue comes up here, we get a call and someone is asking for, does the board have a policy that does X? What we actually end up having to do, answer the question, is go to somebody else's policy manual, search in that policy manual for the policy that corresponds to your policy manual, and then we come back to your policy manual and like you said, check to see if it's the same policy. The problem is that you may have a policy on X, Y, or Z that you don't use that often. And to find it under your manual, you have to basically go and click on every policy, open it up, and kind of read it and scan it to figure out whether or not that policy is the one that you're looking for in a certain topic. Whereas if you knew that you were looking for a policy on athletics, for instance, like right now, transgender athletic participation, something came up today in another county where you're able to hop on their website and put in the word athletics, and every single policy that deals with athletics comes up, and then it gives you a preview without even having to open the policy of how athletics is used in the sentence. So within minutes, you can be in the policy that deals with whatever it is without having to go through your table of contents and try to figure out, well, is this a policy? Is it maybe covered here? Is it maybe covered there? It will make parents' lives easier when they're trying to follow your policy manual. It'll make your teachers' lives easier when they're trying to find policies, the administration. As you said, 80% of the school systems in the state are with the School Boards Association. It's the $3,000 a year that you spend on this is a drop in the bucket when you adopt new policies. Marcia sends them to them. They immediately upload them into their system. When you get their policy updates, if you adopt their policy updates, you just let them know that you've adopted the updates. They then go in and automatically update your policies and make sure everything is kept up to snuff, is current. It is well worth the small amount of money that you spend to have the ability to get to your policies quicker. Your families will love this ability to be able to go in, find out, the policy on, there was a fight. Well, what are policies about fighting at school? Well, you can just hop in there real quick and figure it out very quickly. So it's absolutely worth it.
So it's not just gonna be us having access, no,
Oh,
the public as a whole.
Oh, yeah, it's on the web. So everybody who has access to your website, parents, kids, students, the community can quickly go in and find out all your policies on a certain topic with a quick search term. And it's amazing. You will find your policy manual to be much more user-friendly, and you'll be able to get answers to questions that are in policy in a third of the time that you spend now trying to find a policy. Yeah, everybody has access, not just the board members.
And it helps also, now that you're looking at the parent bill of rights and those policies that we're passing here tonight, that would be another thing that, if there was an audit, to make sure that we're doing what is being asked of the state legislation, that's one way to find it there. The thing I really like about it the most is kind of like what Mr. Malone was talking about, is that and this kind of goes into the, we'll talk about it more when we get to item 3, but when you have this standing policy committee and you make changes and the board approves the changes, once we submit them, they're going to be up online within 12 to 24 hours after we give it to them. And it's just real time, because right now, some of our principals have the actual board policies printed out in a book that's probably about 7 or 8 inches thick. And quite frankly, nobody can ever keep that thing up to date, because it takes time. You got to print off the new stuff, find the old stuff, put it in its place, and if you've got it all online, you can see every time that, let's say, policy 2100 has been updated from its original adoption, revision dates, all along the way. It gives all the history for that. And they've already got that too, since we are subscribers.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Shotwell, you said it was gonna be $12.50 and then $36.50 per year, but you said it would be less than that?
It's gonna be less than.
Yes, ma'am, it's going to be less than that, because after we approve in the middle of October, then they're just going to charge us for the remainder of 23 and then through June. And then it'll start over. So next year in July, we'll get a bill for $36.50.
Okay. Have any more questions?
And if you, Bladen's one, Nash is one, Wake is one, Durham's not. Bertie, Northampton, they're all hosted. So if you just want to log into any one of those at some point and take a look at their manual, you'll see how much more user friendly it is than yours.
Because did you say Wake was one, that's the one you looked at?
Yeah, Wake, the ones I know of, Wake, Nash, Bertie, Northampton, Warren, I mean, I get 80 of the 115, so it's the overwhelming majority. There are some that aren't, but it is absolutely worth $3,650.
Any more questions? All right, standing committee policy committee. Whenever we had met with Dr. Shotwell, you had mentioned that it'd probably be better when the superintendent comes, that we set things up. I mean, we can still talk about it.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, Madam Chair. Because really what really is unique about I'm glad that we're subscribing to the policies from the School Boards Association, but there are times that there's going to be idiosyncrasies in the policy that really don't have a good application to Hope County schools. And we'll want to change it and just maybe change the wording or two. And that's what the policy committee does. Most of the time, after a policy committee meets and they all agree to it, then what they'll do is they'll bring it to first reading to the board. Then they'll come to a second reading to the board and approve it. The exception being here tonight with the Parent Bill of Rights, since they enacted the law on August 16th. So, we didn't have much of a choice there. But my suggestion is that, to best utilize your time as board members and representing the people here in Hope County would be to have your policy meetings prior to the full school board meeting. I would say that if you came together and, if you started at 4:30, you could do it for an hour, hour and a half, still have 30 minutes for supper. You know, more than likely, we'll probably find a way to make sure that we've got some food here for you to eat, so you don't have to worry about trying to rush, get something to eat, come back for the meeting starting at 6:30. But in that meeting, you would have the superintendent, you'd have the executive staff, you would have the board attorney would be there, and then 2 representatives from the Board of Education. Because you can't have 3, because that would be a quorum. And so,
Up to 2 or 2, or it has to be 2?
well, it could be 1 or 2, but typically, it's, people would put 2 on there.
Let me qualify that. The committee can be 3 people because it is a separate, it's a separate body, so to speak. Those meetings, the policy committee meetings get noticed, just like your regular board meetings get noticed. And if you, if it's a standing meeting, then you can just put it on the website once but if you're gonna schedule them as needed, then Marcia will send out notice just like she does for any other special meeting. So a committee of the board can be a quorum of the board. And then, a quorum of the committee could then meet. So if you have a 3-member committee, then 2 members could meet, conduct committee business, make a recommendation to the full board. So a lot of the committees are 3 or 2 members or whatever the board chooses, but it is an actual separate entity, so to speak, that will have to provide notice of the meetings and all, and keep minutes and all those things.
So you're saying it can be 3 board members, that's what he was asking.
Yes, it can be 3 board members. It can be 3 board members because it's an official committee. If 3 of you just get together to talk about policies unrelated to the committee, that would otherwise be a violation of the open meetings law, just to be clear.
So that's 3 board members, up to 3 board members, superintendent. So who would the executive team be? Or the interims, not the interims, but the assistant superintendent?
Assistant superintendents or directors would be there. And the reason they're in there is that if there's a policy that's coming up that's in their area, they can talk about it.
Right.
Madam Chair, if you recall from the very beginning, this is one of the things we were talking about, a policy committee, the finance committee, and we kind of just got away from it for a moment. I'm glad you brought it up. I think this is a great thing to catch up so we don't come into a hot mess and we have to review a ton of policies because we become overwhelmed with that stuff. So to keep up that stuff, the one thing that I want to just reinforce on what you're talking about is we need to have these so-called subject matter experts on these policies internally. So if it's got to do with the sports policy, we need to make sure that we have the sports director, EC policy, we need to have, so that's what we were talking about. So yeah, I think it's a great idea to have this and implement it.
And ideally, once you get this up and running, you'll get the proposed policies that you're going to be discussing at the meeting a week in advance. So you'll have a chance to review it before you come to the policy meeting.
And I'm sure everybody knows that this will require a change to your board policy on committees, because your board policy says that the board will have no standing committees. So as part of implementing this, you'll just need to remember to revise your board policy to include whichever committee you decide you want to do. So if you want to have a personnel committee, if you want to have a finance committee, some people have building and grounds committees. Policy are the main 4 that you see for most, well, for many boards, and I'll say most for many boards.
I think this committee would be great. Start, crawl, then we walk, and then we can run something else.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, next on the agenda is the 2022-23 school accountability results. Dr. Shotwell.
Yes, ma'am. I am really excited because I just want to say on behalf of our teachers, our principals, all our staff, from the bus drivers, everybody, what we do to support our children here in Hope County is absolutely amazing. I have been just thoroughly impressed in my short time here of the commitment that our folks have to make sure that our kids learn, all kids. And so what you'll see here today with what Dr. Hunt's presenting is that progress. You know, we always want to do better, but we're in a place that we're trailing upwards, and that's what you want to do when you're talking about accountability and making sure that our kids are getting their grades.
Good evening again. You go to the next slide. So we're gonna start with some excerpts from NCDPI's press release that took place the first week of September when the accountability results became available. I'm not gonna read all these bullets, but I do wanna focus on the words that are in red because those are the words that are gonna highlight the trends that you're gonna see tonight. So in 2022, 2023, this is the second school year, or that was the second school year that accountability results were released that included the A through F school performance grades. If you remember back in 1920, the pandemic with COVID-19 hit, and so there was no testing in 1920, then in 2021, kind of the same situation with the testing results. And basically the information was used for just information purposes. So 22-23 is the second year, and 21-22 was the first year that the school performance grades were released again. The second bullet in 22-23, we're seeing and we're noticing strong gains in the areas of math as well as reading scores. So those areas were trending upwards, as Dr. Shotwell just mentioned. Then the last bullet at the bottom states that the entire state of North Carolina is remaining on track to recover from the learning loss that was experienced during the 2020-2021 school years. Can you go to the next slide, please? Just a couple more excerpts here. So again, we are continuing to experience some of the impacts from COVID-19. That means that COVID is still relevant. It is still taking place within houses, homes, and within the school districts. We have staff members who have experienced it, students who are going through that. And as a result, we try to do the best that we can in order to make plans for those students and for those staff members to continue to participate in the educational environment. So we try to provide them with we try to meet their needs within the school district by providing stuff such as online learning in the past and allowing students to remote in and allowing teachers to remote into the classrooms for teaching. Now, keep in mind that the 18-19 data that you're going to see, we're not supposed to use that for comparison results because that's pre-pandemic data, and we are not back yet at those marks. So just keep that in mind. And then down at the bottom, which over the course of the years, you're going to see that we have continued to recover our grounds. So we are making those trends upwards. And that's what's important. So next. So just for your information, these are the tested subjects as far as accountability is concerned, or state tested subjects. We have 3 through 5 reading, 3 through 5 math, grade 5 science. EL progress is also incorporated at elementary schools as well as middle schools and high schools. Reading in 6 through 8, math in 6 through 8. Keep in mind in Hope County schools in grade 8, they take the math 1 in the course subject. They also take grade 8 science. Then over at high school, there's English 2, math 1, math 3, biology, ACT work keys. The 4-year cohort graduation rate is also included in there, and also EL progress. Next slide, please. So now we're going to look at how our data compares over the last 2 years for school performance grades. The top highlighted in yellow identifies the school year 2022-23, which is what we're going to focus on. However, 21, 22 is just up here for comparison. So there's a couple of things that probably need to identify, such as the EBOS growth status, as on the columns number 2 and number 3, there are 3 statuses of not met, or exceeded growth. And that, if you want to get down into it, goes onto a number line. If it is less than -2, the school did not meet growth. If it ranges in between -2 and +2, they met growth, and anything above +2 is exceeded growth. And we can make those correlations with the numbers on the 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 columns with the IDX at the top. So those are the indexes that corresponds to those identifications. So as an example, if we look at Don Steed in 21, 22, they met growth with an index of 0.66. In 22, 23, Don Steed did not meet growth, but the index for Don Steed was at a -3.23. So that identifies a change on the number line. So if we're looking at the indexes for 2022-23, there were 8 changes for a decrease in changes on the number line, or a decrease in growth for that particular school, and all those are highlighted in red, which means that we probably had only 1, 2, 3, about 3, 4 increases there. Then going over to the school performance grades, if we look at 2022-23, doing a comparison to 21-22, there were 5 schools who decreased as far as number grades are concerned, and that was Don Steed Elementary School went from a 64 to a 59. Hawkeye Elementary went from a 43 to a 42. East Hope dropped by 1 from a 45 to a 44. Upchurch Elementary School dropped by 3 points from a 54 to a 51. And then San Hope Early College went from a 90 to an 88. With that being said, while we experienced 5 decreases, we also experienced 8 increases. And so that goes up to McLaughlin, that went from a 36 to a 51. West Hope Middle School from a 52 to a 56. Scurlock Elementary School remained at a 52. West Hope Elementary School went from a 51 to a 55. Rockfish Hope from a 59 to a 66. Sandy Grove Elementary from 50 to 53. Sandy Grove Middle School was also from 50 to 53. And Hope County High School went from a 65 to a 71. And that one was pretty significant, and I'll speak to that in a minute. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you notice with McLaughlin, where they would be considered a low-performing school in 21-22, they moved up the letter grade and they also exceeded growth, so they're no longer considered a low-performing school.
Correct.
I know. I took some of your thunder, I'm sorry.
All right. So 22 to 23, well, you gotta talk about everything that excites you, right? So from 22 to 23, when we're looking at the letter grades, we had 3 decreases. So in a comparison from 5 numerical decreases to only 3 alphabetical decreases, but also we had 4 letter grade increases. So with that being said, Dr. Shotwell just made a good point there about the low performing school for McLaughlin Elementary School, but also I want to go down and talk about Hope County High School. This is the first time since school performance grades have been released or have been used for school identifications that Hope County High School has been a B school. So that really says a lot about the work that's been done. And then looking at school identifications, as far as low performing schools are concerned, which basically means that if it was a C, and well, if the school did not meet growth or met growth, and had a letter grade of D or F, they're considered low performing school. And those are going over to McLaughlin at a low performing was in 22-23. So again, they changed to where they exceeded that criteria. West Hope Middle School was also a low performing school in 21-22. In 22-23, they exceeded that criteria. And the same thing for West Hope Elementary School. However, Scurlock, Hawkeye and Rockfish, not Rockfish, but Upchurch Elementary School all became low performing schools. So those are 3 changes. And the other 3 schools, East Hope Middle, Sandy Grove Elementary, and Sandy Grove Middle School, all remained a low performing school from 22-23. Okay, I'll go to the next one, please. So now we want to look at those trends that our school district is experiencing. So as I mentioned earlier, we are increasing and or making gains as far as accountability is concerned, going back from post-pandemic results. Anything in the blue represents 18-19 data that was pre-pandemic. The red, yellow, and green represents post-pandemic results. So we thought that by putting the 18-19 up here just to give you an idea about where we were pre-pandemic, and then looking at the gains that we're making in the post-pandemic. So as you can see, and remember in 2021, the data that was there was used only for information purposes. The state didn't use those for any type of identification, whereas beginning in 21-22 and 22-23, the state has. So the ACT is also important to note that in 21-22, you see a big decrease there, but that's because the state changed the UNC minimum requirement from a score of 17 to 19. So that's something that schools experienced and had I would venture out to say a hardship in trying to make sure that we were meeting those, that score of a 19 with just being notified that school year. So it dropped down to a 29.4, but this past school year went to a 31.5, so we're all making increases there. Same thing with the ACT work keys, we are making grounds, math 3. When we look at that, that's passing math 3, which is also called the math course rigor, and that's just the number of seniors or the percentage of seniors who are graduating who pass math 3 during their high school career, and that's over 95%. And our 4-year cohort graduation rate, we're proud to say that the pre-pandemic was at 80.4, but currently the post-pandemic is 86.7. So as a school district, we're doing something really good there. Looking at grades 9 through 12, EOC accountability results. So this is the high school information basically for Turlington, San Hope Early College, and Hope County High School, all calculated together. Our math 1, now remember we said that math 1, all of our grade 8 students take math 1 in grade 8 at the middle schools. However, if students are transferring into our school district while in high school and they haven't taken math 1, they get enrolled into that course at the high school level and take that. So we experience a smaller number of students who are taking math 1 at the high school level than it just being in the entire grade level that's taking that. So in other words, what I mean by that is that during the course of the year, you may have 40, 41 students as an example compared to the entire grade level of, I don't know, roughly several hundred students. Now, when we look at the math 3 this year, and we are talking about grade level proficiency, so students making a 3, 4, or 5 on their proficiency. Math 3 really blew it out of the water, moving from 71% to 79.9%. English 3 is also making grounds. We jumped up by almost 5 percentage points on English 2. Biology saw an increase of almost approximately 15 percentage points, so from a 43 to a 61. And then overall, so your math 1, math 3, English 2, biology, all of those results combined together, we jumped up 9 percentage points from a 52 to a 61 at the high school level. Grade 6 through 8 reading, same thing there in green was the 22 to 23 results. Grade 6 reading went up 2 percentage points. Grade 7 reading went up 3 percentage points. Grade 8 reading went down approximately 1 percentage point. And then overall combined together for all grades 6 through 8 in reading, and this is at all 3 middle schools and Turlington, it went from a 42% to a 43%. So we are making grounds in those areas. Looking at grade 6 through 8 math, grade 6 math increased by approximately 1 percentage point. Grade 7 math increased by 3 percentage points. Grade 8 math 1 increased by approximately 1 percentage point from a 33 to a 34. And then altogether, all three maths combined together, it went from a 36 to a 37, so it increased by 1 percentage point. While those seem to be small, those are great gains, especially when we're talking about students going from a grade 7 math and grade 6 math to an EOC course in grade 8 while in middle school. Elementary schools, this is grades 3 through 5. In reading, went up in grade 3 from 36 to 42, so approximately 6 percentage points. Grade 4 increased by 7 percentage points for reading. Grade 5 reading actually decreased by approximately 2 percentage points. However, our grades 3 through 5 reading composite also decreased by 2 percentage points from a 45 to a 43. Looking on the right-hand side at the math, grade 3 math increased by 9 percentage points. Grade 4 math increased by 9 percentage points. Grade 5 math increased by approximately 1 percentage point. And then altogether in grades 3 through 5 at all 8 elementary schools, we had a composite increase of 6 percentage points. And then when we look at science, and just remember in grades 5, only in the elementary schools, grade 5 participated in science, and then grade 8 is the only grade level that participates in science in those schools. But from 2021-22, there was a decrease in grade 5 science by 3 percentage points. And for grade 8 science, we also saw a decrease of approximately 2 percentage points. So thank you for your time, and any questions?
Dr. Hunt, I would like to say that the percentages are looking good, they're coming up, but I do have a question. How are we addressing the schools that continue to perform? This is like, I know we have 2 or 3 that's still low performing. And I know that there is some type of criteria to address that area when they continue to perform low. So what are we doing to address that? Because a lot of parents do look at that when they're making choices with schools and deciding, if they want their child to come to that particular school, or, they look at those things. So how are we addressing that? Because we have some schools that is on that cycle.
But what we don't want to do is we don't want to take away resources from the schools that are making those gains. Because what some districts will sometimes find themselves doing is they'll put resources in, the school gets better, and then once they get better, they take resources back. And that's one of the things that we don't want to do. One of the things that we are working on, and you all, my very first board meeting, we approved the relay movement that we're doing here. It's huge. All of our principals, all the assistant principals, the instructional coaches are all involved in this, and the district staff too. We're breaking down what school improvement looks like. We're getting ready to have a visit for the next 2 weeks from the lady that's our coach from the relay group. She's coming in and looking at what's happening in all of our schools to see, are we on progress from what we talked about this summer? I mean, that to me, that's probably one of the overarching ones that's touching all the schools. Also, when you look at schools, their school improvement teams are going to come up with whatever their weaknesses might be in a particular area. They're going to figure out ways individually at their schools to try to address those deficiencies. And then we've got staff here to help out. And Dr. Ramsford, you're more than welcome to jump in.
Yes, actually, as you were asking that question, I was thinking the same thing. What are some things that we've done? And I will tell you, Mr. Reniger, and I'll mention him because he had such great gains. And one of the things he did last year is he really dug into some of the things that we were doing with Relay at that state level that we talked about. And so I do think that is, it's not all of it, but it is a great portion of it. And he has definitely dug in again this year as we started this new. We did have our first visit today with Heather. I walked around with her at Charlington, and she was at Sandy Grove this morning as well. And so one of the things that we're doing, and part of this is learning and building capacity within our own our schools, building it within our administrators as well as our teachers and our coaches. And so we're looking at things like standards and task alignment. That was one of the conversations we had today. And not only are they looking at that, it's now what are we going to do about it when we see it's not happening. So first I have to know what it looks like, and then now what am I going to do? And so today, one of the principals, they sat and they worked with her. Here's a teacher that we just saw. Here's we are practicing now on the feedback that we're going to give her to get her better and the tools to give her. And so when that principal walked out today, he said this afternoon he was going to talk to that teacher. And he was going to guide her on how to be better at. So one is he had to grow, and then she's growing as well. And I do fully believe that as we continue that work in helping our administrators to see what it looks like, what it should look like, and then if it doesn't look like that, now what do we do? So it's a complete circle. So that is one thing.
Okay, so I hear you say one principal has taken action to get involved, so
We'll
what
be doing
about
it with
the
all,
No, it's all of them.
it'll be all of them.
Yeah.
We just only had, this is our first day of visits, right? And so one of the things is the accountability. So what's happening is, each principal, when she walks away, will have an action step. What are their action steps? So this is what we saw when we walked to the visit. Here are our action steps as a result of our visit. Here are the things that we're focusing on. And so there's a timeline. So I already know that this principal is going to go to see this teacher, and the next assignment was now you're going to go and repeat this with another teacher. Now, they're not going to do everybody at one time. They're building as we're building capacity within them. But as we build that motion, that's the idea, is that they become more empowered and they have a skill set to do that, getting better. And the idea is to get better faster. So that's just one layer. Also, that continued coaching. So we will be coaching the principals as they go through this process, as well as she is coaching them and coaching our district staff.
So when they present their school improvement plan, would that information be on there? Because you can put a lot of things of what you say you're gonna do or what you think you should do, but it's not working if you continue to be low performing. So how are y'all, is that information gonna be incorporated in
Relay
that?
will be part of that conversation as well. So Relay will be part of the school improvement plan. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And then we have accountability with that as well.
okay.
Because what it does, it breaks it down to, we've got to be making sure that we're using every minute, every day that we have those children in our classroom, that we're doing what's best. The days have long passed when teachers could just teach what they want. If I was a history teacher and I like the World War II, and I would spend 3 weeks there, you can't do that anymore. Because the kids have got to cover a certain amount of their curriculum. And it's the same thing here. The thing I like about Relay is that we're going to be learning from each other, and we're also going to be able to share back and forth, because some of the schools that are coming out of low performing, we need to talk about that with the schools that are almost there, about what did you do last year that really made a difference? And it will reflect in their school improvement plans. It has to. And it's not one of those plans. That's what Relay's helping us with, is that it's not a plan that's done at the beginning of the year and then we go, well, it's summertime, let's see what we did. We are holding ourselves accountable at each of our schools and holding us accountable as district leaders to make sure that happens.
I don't know if I have a question. I think I have more of a comment. I'm looking at Sandhurst College, and I know that they succeeded, and I know, but they got a 5.66 this year, which gave them a grade of 88. But I do want to say that I know personally that this principal went through a lot. So she lost her mother and then turned around and lost her husband. And so when things like that happen and they're out of the school and not in the building, then that will, and she had good reason, and I think she had an assistant principal, but she's only been here maybe a year or so. So yeah, so you can see that we need leadership in the schools. This was no fault of her own, she just couldn't be there, and it took a toll on her, but then you see it in her, grades. I'm sure that will get up, you know.
What she has done, with longevity being there, she's built capacity not only with her assistant principal, but her teachers.
Yeah.
And so when a teammate is dealing with those personal things, the rest of your team comes together and helps you through that. And I gotta tell you, there's a lot of schools that would kill to have that 5.66, even though that's in red. You know, because you gotta remember, a +2 to a -2 is you met. She far exceeded that. And we also have to remind people that it's not an AIG high school. We have a world of diversity and difference at that early college. It's about expectations. It's the same thing I can say about the high school. I mean, you think about that, ladies and gents, that's almost 2,600 kids between the two schools that are knocking it out of the park. You know, because I'm not gonna say the school, but I know that when I was at the JV game last Thursday and Chairman's brother and the principal and I were talking about, well, you know, there's always a school in one of the neighboring counties they compare us to, and we got the same grade they did. I told them I'm gonna drop the mic on that one, so that's big. And we're gonna make a big deal out of it too. Because you think about that, think about how big that campus is. Think about what those teachers and those leaders did over there. I mean, that's a 10. That's hard in high school. I'm just gonna say that.
Thank you, appreciate your time.
Again, I want to congratulate all our kids. I appreciate the teachers not giving up on our kids. And because if they had given up on them, high school would have never gotten there. So I appreciate the teachers. I wish they were all here so I can thank them for not giving up on our kids. And we're going to continue to keep our other children, our other schools in prayer, because they might be low performing now, but who's to say what they're going to be doing next year. So again, I want to congratulate them. They did really, really well. So next on the agenda is, okay, we're doing our action items, the new NS SBA policies. And
Yes, Madam Chair, board members, what you have before you are the changes that have been made very quickly. When you consider that Senate Bill 49 passed in August and is supposed to be enacted just a few days after it was passed. It became law on and effective for schools on the 16th of August. We had our Parent Bill of Rights notification on our website before the first day of school. And the School Boards Association, because they work with so many of the school districts and they work with the different attorney groups, they've been able to pull this legislation together to tie in our existing policies to make sure that they match up with the changes that are required from the state legislation there. And that's what you have. That's what you see with your policies, all of them that are listed, the supporting documents that you find online. All of those have been tweaked to represent the legislative changes that came from Senate Bill 49. And this is where your policy committee, when you start meeting, there may be some things in here that you may want to codify a little bit more, maybe be a little bit more specific. That's what y'all can do during that time. But this lays the foundation for us to meet the legislation requirement.
Madam Chair.
yes, sir.
All right, so I'm looking at this, all these policies affected by the Parents' Bill of Rights. Am I to understand that all the revisions have been done to these policies?
So there's a version of these that show the changes from the School Boards Association. It looks like they posted the clean version online.
Yes.
So you can't really see the changes. But what what you will ultimately be asked to do will be to approve the changes from your existing policy to the new versions. And I think you can get those out to the board members so you can see the changes. And then we sent the superintendent, some information on 1310, because it's got some stuff for the board to think about that. So when this comes to you for approval, there'll be some stuff there that he'll also want to talk to you about a little bit. And then we've also got another couple of tweets that we're planning to get out tomorrow. Most people are looking at these for first read kind of this weekish. And then when it comes back to you at the next meeting, you will be approving it. So you'll be getting some other couple of comments from us in the next little bit. Yeah, everybody's scrambling to get the stuff out as quickly as we can. The School Board Association absolutely did a great job. And we've just got a couple of small things that we're recommending to our clients to kind of supplement what they did.
So we're not approving these policies right now.
You're approving the first reading. It just means, so by approving the first reading, there'll be a month between now and the October meeting, that if anybody in the public has any issues with the policies, they can come and participate in in public comments, or they could contact you all in the interim or us and say, well, I've got a concern with this particular policy. And then that's where I would go back with Rod or Grace, depending on when it is, and say, how does this concern go with the policy in terms of how it aligns with the legislation? Because there may be some things that people may not like, but it aligns with the legislation, and that's what we're required to do.
But how are we gonna approve, we don't have all of them, we don't have, like you said, 1310, you're gonna do that when tomorrow?
I have a feeling it's gonna be a rolling.
Yeah, they're all here. It's just that, in the version that you have, it incorporates the changes. So he'll forward you the version that will track the changes. So you'll see those, and then you can probably actually put this on the next work session agenda too, for the board to be able to talk about it in the community. Because for 1310, the statute actually requires you to solicit community input and some stuff like that. So how you may want, we put some options in the email that we sent you about soliciting community input that you may want to consider also. But that's just for 1310. The others don't require community input. But I think when you see the track changes version, it'll be a little easier for you to differentiate the changes that are being made. And I would say to go ahead and add these again with the track changes noted on the work session agenda, because I think that'll maybe help better direct your comments and questions when you can see the track changes.
That's my point. I'm looking at the policy 1310 4000, and it's a clear copy. So I don't know what changes have been made. And so I just wanted to make sure we are not approving a final version.
No, sir, you're not. I'll get you the one where it shows the changes. You're just approving that we're discussing it on the first reading.
Okay. Madam Chair, and when are we gonna get exactly, I know we're gonna be talking about this during the next work session, but when exactly are we gonna get these copies with all these changes, so I know what's being changed?
I'll try to have it out before the end of the week. I'll get that to you.
Thank you.
And I think I forwarded the board, I may have copied the board on the 1310 stuff that I sent to the superintendent. I think I did. So if you'll look for an email from me late last week, at least on that one policy, you'll see, you can see some of that information.
I just realized that you're still with us, and I've kind of blocked that email, started to spam. I have to go and unblock you again.
That may be the funniest thing I've heard in a long time.
Thank you.
So, can I get a motion for, item 1, new NCSBA policy to approve the first read.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move to, approve the Parents' Bill of Rights legislation, with the, all the policies, added to it for the first, read.
Motion on the floor, can I get a second?
Second.
Motion on, somebody hear me say something?
Rosa says.
No, I thought somebody was getting ready to say something after she said second. Motion on the floor to approve the new NCSBA policy first read. And it's been second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next on the agenda is the approval of 1-year legal contract.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, board members, we have sent these options out several weeks ago, 2 different times. We also sent you a comparison, a spreadsheet of the hours that we had been using with Tharrington and Smith over the last few months. And even in that, he broke it down about which ones were for board meetings and such. And so what you're really deciding here tonight is deciding whether or not you're just going to do a per hour charge for everything, or option 2 where it's $2,000 and board meetings are covered and you get a certain number of trainings, and then option number 3 where it's unlimited meetings, and then of course we still get charged, but the per rate hour goes down. I did a rough calculation. It really accounts for about $800 difference on one of the examples, one of the months that Mr. Malone shared with us. When I looked to see what it would cost for the month, I did it with option 1 and option 2. And I figured option 3 is not going to be too much far off. You're either getting a discount up front and you get it back by the hours that you use in our board meetings, but as we have something on here to change the board meeting schedule, you're going to have less meetings. So the amount of time that we've been using for board meetings are going to be a little bit different. However, as I say that, you're still going to have a policy. So you could still end up having, if you have a normal 3-hour school board meeting or less, and then you have 2 hours prior to that, so an attorney could be here for 5 hours plus their travel here and travel back. So, you're still, even for one meeting, you just need to kind of take that into consideration. And I know y'all have been doing the math. I actually saw Grace this morning, and if you wanted to, this is totally y'all's decision, but if you wanted just to do it on a per hour basis to start off with, we can see how it looks the first couple of months. And if it's not what we what we envision, we can come back and revisit this. She said they would be open to that. So that if you wanted to come back and do a retainer, you could.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
just a question for my colleagues. Did everybody read the 3 options? This is just me speaking. I looked at option number 3, and I would be satisfied with option number 3 because we have unlimited. We got like royalty right here. So unlimited meetings, the training, everything, and one of my things, Madam Chair, would be that once the new law firm came in, that I was going to recommend we get some more training done. And so I looked at all the options. I would, unless anybody wants to put something else, I would move to approve option 3.
Any more suggestions?
I agree with option 3 because we do meet a lot. And
Yeah.
there are unexpected, the meetings that we have unexpected sometimes that we have to meet. So, and it's unlimited, so I'm in agreement with option 3.
I like option 3.
at A, standard monthly services.
Be the best bang for our buck. Be the best bang for our buck.
Right.
right.
In option three.
Let's see, where you see it here, it talks about the standard monthly fee. Our fee for the standard monthly fee is a flat $3,000 per month. There'll be no administrative expenses charged related to the standard fee, the flat fee. And then what you see is that their attorney fees go from, if you didn't have any retainer, it'd be $255 for a partner. And now it's $225. And now the paralegal stays the same, no matter what you pick. And then the comparison with the associate, which is what Ms. Penrath is, it would be $195 if you were just doing it on a per hour basis. Now it's $175.
So who's
Grace, she's the associate.
Madam Chair,
175?
Madam Chair, I'd like to, say my motion again. I move to,
Hold on a minute. Wait a minute. We asked you if there were any questions. Hold on a second, okay? So it's gonna be 175 for her?
Yes, because she's an associate. She's not a partner in the group. If you do option 3.
The only thing, Ruben, just to keep in mind, these retainers is, if you are not having multiple meetings every month, you're paying for them, right? So as you're scaling your meetings back, then you are building in paying for meetings that people may not actually be covering. Option B was how many meetings?
Which one?
Which one was option B? Was that how many meetings?
Yeah, for the 2,000 a month, it was, I think it was one meeting, one regular board meeting and a work session. And then it was a minimum amount of trainings.
Yeah, so like option B, basically it's 2 meetings. So that would be your regular meeting and your policy committee meetings or whatever. I mean, so the question is, are you really gonna meet 3 times a month, every month, for some extended period of time? I mean, you really have not been meeting with where you use a lawyer. That's something, I mean, you have superintendent searches and you've got some other stuff where you've met, but not where you needed a lawyer. So don't overly, think about every time you've met, because I mean, we sent you historical information and you're not meeting more with a lawyer more than basically twice a month. And you come through a lot of the stretch of some crazy stuff at the high school and this, that, and the other, and you're now kind of starting to settle into a little bit more of a rhythm such that you're actually about to get rid of it. Assuming you approve it, you're gonna go from 2 meetings to 1 meeting, so you're trending towards fewer meetings. And all of these options, as they told you, are gonna be available later. So, I mean, it's not like you've gotta make a decision right now and you can't change it down the road. So I would encourage you to pick an option, maybe that's in the middle, like 2. Keep track of your meetings, look at the bills, keep track of it, and see what it looks like, and then you can gauge it later. This is the only thing I would highlight.
I see on the, agenda that we're gonna look at changes as far as like, our meeting time. We're not gonna meet as much. Is that something we're not gonna do?
What's that?
Cause if we're gonna continue to meet, then, cause we've been meeting pretty regular. So
Well, I
are
mean,
we just going down to 1 meeting? Then maybe we can look at option 2. But if we're gonna continue doing all these multiple meetings, then we probably need to go option 3.
So might I suggest that maybe you could table this item for a second, maybe talk about item 3, which is the board meeting schedule, see what you decide as a board about that, and then come back to item 2. Because if you don't change your meeting schedule, then you're right, you probably, option 3 looks a whole lot better than option 2, but if you go to one meeting, then to basically pay for 3 meetings, I think you're just paying for an extra meeting that you might not actually rarely use anyway.
I mean, I like that suggestion to address the change in board meeting schedule. We can address that first, and then we can come back to item number 2.
Okay, so next on the agenda is change in board meeting schedule.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, I spoke with leadership, with the chair and vice chair, and we were talking about the amount of time that we're spending meeting. And unfortunately, some of the changes, last minute changes that come up, Polk County's not unique, that there are some things that just come in. I mean, like I got a request 2 days ago for a contract to be approved, and I emailed them back and said it's gonna be October. It's because I don't want to bring something last minute to you unless it's absolutely necessary. And so if you're not going to use your work session to really delve into the items, and then you make your regular meeting, just go boom, 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 you're out of here in 45 minutes. Because that's kind of the purpose of having the work session, is that you work through all the discussion, so the public sees the discussion. If they got an issue with it, they'll come to you and talk about it at the public comments. And if they don't, then it's going to be up there for approval. Now, as I say that, in theory, that's the way work sessions and regular meetings work. But I've seen it happen a lot of different ways at a lot of places.
Madam Chair. Of course, I only speak for myself. I know we got away from the original intent of the work session meeting, but sometimes we have done that. And we've had a whole bunch of meetings too. And I'm hoping that stuff, but that old saying, you either pay me now or pay me later. So the way I look at it is we truly hold a work session meeting to discussion, so we can give briefings on everything, and then we approve whatever moves from the work session on the monthly meeting. That ideally we'll be here for 30, 45 minutes. Okay, but if we don't keep the work session meeting, then that's what's gonna happen is we're gonna be here all night, getting briefings. I can tell you one part where I know we're gonna have to come back again is the EC contracts, because we've been approving many contracts about the same time, and that has not been easy. So I only speak as myself. I know we all have to sacrifice, but I know that Rod Malone gave us a suggested agenda for the work session meeting, and we haven't really kept up with it. So I, for one, I'm a strong supporter of the work session meeting, whether we can be here or not, and definitely have a monthly meeting. But I suspect that one of the benefits of the work session meeting is the fact that we get to approve personnel, because that's what we agreed on. The one thing that we will always be approving will be personnel issues or hires or whatever the case may be. So that's one of the positive things on the work session meeting. But ultimately, if the majority wants just one monthly meeting, I myself do not feel comfortable receiving all these briefings. We're gonna go back to the old way, because I saw this in the old way where there was briefings going on and more deer headlines than anything else. And so I think that if we can have a work session meeting, we can run it effectively. I think it's worth a while, and maybe when we catch up, we haven't been here, of course, the two ladies side by side, they've been here longer than we have, but the 3 new board members, we haven't even been here a year yet. I suspect we're not done with everything yet. That's just my opinion. There might be still more stuff coming in that we're gonna have to deal with. So I would say if we can keep the work session meeting at least for a year, so we can tackle everything that we're supposed to be tackling. And then we can tailor it, down to, a monthly meeting and maybe have a meeting as necessary. I mean, I don't know. That's just my input on that.
Any more comments, suggestions?
Yes, ma'am. I really would love to have it once a month, second Tuesday of the month. I know we have a lot of things that's coming up, but I believe if we all, be held accountable to reading our emails and seeing what's coming up and people give us the information ahead of time, we'll have a outlook on what is gonna be on the agenda. I just think, that the once a month is kind of what we want, because we in this thing, and it's taking up a whole lot of time. I understand what you're saying, Ruben, but I just feel like if we could get the emails and the information in a timely manner, for what's gonna be discussed, we'll have a chance to look it over. And then we have our minds made up, we can come together, and it still won't take that much time.
Anyone else?
Yes, I hear what you're saying, Ruben, and I do agree with you, Ms. Blue. But I think in actuality, we are having two, it doesn't matter, you know, if we have one or two meetings, they still want long periods of time and open to the weeknight. Late, you know, they're late meetings, but we have done it, prior to the new individuals coming on, where we had one board meeting and we were able to get everything done in that one board meeting. And we haven't stayed like late. We did have some late nights, but there were some nights that we get out here and we cover a lot of items that were on the agenda. And we didn't have a working session, but we were able to cover everything in our board meeting. So, I mean, it's up to the school board, you know, the members, how we decide what to do, but I'm in agreement with board meeting.
Anyone else have a comment? Can I get a motion, to, I guess we start with one meeting? You, everybody agree with that? Or-
Yes, so let's think, so you currently are two meetings, so I guess the question is there a motion to go to one meeting? Yeah, I'll go with that.
So can I get a motion to go to start having one meeting a month, starting in October? We have one meeting a month.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
move to, start having one monthly meeting starting in, October 2023.
I guess second.
Second.
It's motion on the floor to have one board meeting starting in October 2023. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
No, nay.
Okay, the ayes have it. Okay. So next, then we're going back to number two.
Correct.
Going back to number two. So we're going back to number two, to choose an option, on how we're gonna hire the attorneys. Either option 1, 2, or 3. Any discussion, any further discussion on those items, on those options? I'm sorry.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
since we approved to have the one meeting, board meeting per month, I would, like to recommend option 2 for us to engage the law firm.
Okay, it's a motion on the floor to approve option 2. Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor to approve option 2. All in favor of this option, say aye.
Can I just, well, I was just gonna note one thing about option 2, just, so with option 2, if you were to choose that one, if you schedule your committee meetings on the same day as the board meeting, then that would be covered. So no matter how long that time is, if you put your committee meetings on the same day as the board meeting, it would be covered in that. So that's an advantage in that option also. It was in the other option too, but in option 3, but I noticed it's also in option 2.
It was approved in second for me. It was, second, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. So next on the agenda is the approval of the interim superintendent's contract extension.
Yes, ma'am, that is a 1-month extension. And, again, I'm grateful for the opportunity. And if you would like for me to stay an extra month until the new person starts, I'll be glad to serve you all and the people here in Hope County.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion that we extend, Dr. Shotwell's, contract for 1 more month.
I second that.
Motion on the floor to extend interim superintendent's contract for 1 month. It's been second, all in favor say aye.
Madam Chair, I'd like to have this open for discussion. While I strongly agree with the 1 month, I really think we should go ahead and lock it down now to where, in no fairness to the new superintendent coming in, I think that, assuming that Dr. Shotwell wants, he should be here at least for a week or maybe 2 to have that good transition. We're not talking about, an assistant superintendent. We're talking about the superintendent coming in. And so I really think that we should maybe with a note that if the superintendent that comes in and says, I don't need you here after the first day, then we can break the contract. But I really would like to have the new superintendent the opportunity to have the wealth of knowledge that Dr. Shotwell has brought here. He has made our stay here very pleasant. I mean, I can't speak for all my colleagues, but it's been very smooth sailing. And so I just really think that we owe it to the new superintendent coming in to at least give him the opportunity to have the new superintendent say, yeah, I don't need you here, have a good day. Or, you know what, it's a great idea that we're here, you're here with me for another week or 2.
What's the superintendent coming,
The November
November 1st, okay.
Is it a week?
Let's talk about this other two.
So I would chime in real quick, that it's not at all uncommon for when you have a good interim to have some kind of an overlap between the new superintendent and the outgoing superintendent. Sometimes we build into these contracts that the new superintendent can come in for a couple of days ahead of time, they have some overlap, or it can be in the other direction here. If the board is interested in the week, then I think what Dr. Shotwell would probably ask me to do would be to reach out to Dr. Spells and to find out if he's interested in having that overlap, because you don't want to kind of force it on him, but that's normally the way we would do it, is if the board is interested and the interim's willing, then I would reach out to Dr. Spells, his lawyer, tell him that the board is authorized up to blank amount of time, but we didn't want to do that if he didn't feel it was necessary. But I do think that coming from out of state, especially, some amount of transition would make sense for the board and for Dr. Spells, because we all want him to be successful.
That's right.
Are you available?
Absolutely.
So Ron, are you saying that the motion should just carry on as, or what are you saying? Because you're saying get in touch with them?
Right, I would think that the board could approve an extension through November 1st, through October 31st, with the possibility of an additional week if Dr. Spells agrees that the extra week would be good, or some part of that week, up to an additional week, if Dr. Spells believes that an additional week would be useful during the transition. And then I can then communicate that back to the chair and to Grace and to others, exactly what the plan is.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion that we extend Dr. Shopworth's, contract to October 31st with additional 1 to 2 weeks. 1 week, if requested by the new superintendent.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's a motion on the floor to approve the interim superintendent's contract up to 1 week. And it's been second, up to a month, up to additional week.
Right, correct.
Okay, additional week. And it's been second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
So next on the agenda is ad hoc parent committee. I think that's move. That's moving, right? That's good.
Yes, ma'am. This is something that you all have been discussing the last several board meetings. And the wording now is in the version that I think everybody accepts. And so it's really here for you all to, if there's any further discussion, or Mr. Castello, I know you were really instrumental in wanting to have this as a part to help the board.
Thank you. So I would just like to make a quick change if this is possible. So for historical data here, the proper title should be ad hoc parent committee, not ad hoc parent advisory committee, because the resolution itself is an ad hoc parent committee. In addition to that, the major, I think Ms. Rosa was the one that brought it to our attention about the membership, and that was corrected as far as the chair can be any board member. Other than that, everything else remains as is. Subject to your questions. If not, I move to approve the ad hoc parent committee resolution.
Hold on a second. Anybody have any questions for Ruben?
It just fall in with the parents' bill of rights.
It actually does. It absolutely does. I mean, so on your Parents' Bill of Rights website, and you go ahead. I mean, you could really almost make, yes, yeah, I mean, answer the question, yes. I would definitely include that, if approved, I would definitely include it on the website, and that, list the policies and other parents' bill of rights.
We would include what the new,
Yeah, I'm just saying that on your policy where you're, on your website where you're linking various Parents' Bill of Rights information, if this is approved, I would absolutely add it there, because it is certainly the spirit of what you're doing.
Madam Chair.
yes, sir.
Thank you for that information. I just thought about something, in light of everything that's been going on, this is definitely a major thing for the board that we can all brag about. Because this is gonna send out a strong signal that we are truly inclusive with the parents.
Well, let me ask you, have you done I see this and I listen to your presentations. And I don't wanna rubber stamp anything. So do you have any case studies or anything like this on what a board results were based on an advisory? Because, I see you got the PTA and PTO in here, and I do know that we reach out to the community and they come to us, and we still have conversations, we still get things done, and I'm just trying to figure out what can, so it's not an advisory committee, it's just a committee.
That's right.
So it's not advising So what is it doing?
Okay, so, Ramon, can you explain the definition of ad hoc, please? So I can pick it up from there.
Yeah, sure, ad hoc is, that's a great question. It's like created for the purpose of looking into something. So in this case, it's a committee that doesn't normally exist, that you're creating for the purpose of dealing with parent-related issues. So it's not like a standing committee, but it's a committee that you're creating for this purpose.
Because I thought at one point, I see ad hoc, but I thought at one point it did say advisory.
It did say advisory because the policy spoke to ad hoc advisory committees. But following the last meeting, I heard some interest in maybe not including advisory when, Mr. Castile and I discussed it after the meeting. We agreed that removing advisory from the title was certainly something that we could both support, so we drafted it in this current version by removing the word advisory.
So if you recall back when we were going through the initial phases of the high school project, the headlines of the news journal indicated that, don't quote me on it, but paraphrasing based on what I remember, the students were asked what they thought about the high school project. And they asked the high school students for input. Parents weren't asked. So that would be an example of something, maybe this is why this is with the name what changed to ad hoc, to where it's gonna be there. The parents is gonna know that there's a parent committee right there. So when the board or the chair wants to say we soon enough, I think maybe while we're still all here, we're gonna have to deal with another school. Okay? And I think that's a major project. Parents should have a voice. Parents should have some input. While it might be true that we might not take their input, still, they have a voice. And so that's the whole purpose of this committee. And I understand that residents of Polk County, I understand that they all talk to us, but this is a committee subordinate to the board. Okay, so ultimately, it's a whole lot better than all the residents communicating individually with us. This is actually a committee that we can activate when it's needed. It's gonna be dormant. And if we need formal information from the parents, this committee can be with prior notification. We can have a date, and then we can gather the information from whatever project might be coming along. Because the one thing that I can think of is we're gonna have another school built here. Probably we're gonna start talking about it in another 3 years. I don't know if you noticed or not, but there's a ton of houses being built all over Polk County, and nobody's talking about building new schools. Okay, so this is why I think that this is a wonderful thing. And to answer your question about if there's case studies, I mean, I don't have a reason to believe that I need to have any case studies, but I will say, can I say when we doing when we were interviewing the interns, can I mention what was said about that other, actually it was the superintendent interviews, that I asked him about parent committee and he said he had it. And can I mention his name?
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not like confidential personnel kind of information,
And so
you're free to mention it.
I don't, his name was David somebody. And I specifically asked him about the parent committee, and he said he had the parent committee, and people stopped coming. And I asked him why. I said, because all their issues, all their concerns were addressed. And so I'm not saying let's have a meeting every, in a few months. We need to have this, that is my belief, and I understand in the past, somebody had mentioned that this was my committee. This is not my committee. This is the Board of Education Subcommittee. This is for the board. This is not for me, this is not for one individual. And lastly, everybody talks about inclusiveness. Okay, well, here's your opportunity to truly say that you include the parents.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Being a former parent of 3 daughters that came through Hope County High School, I strongly believe that parents should have a voice in their child's learning. We do have the Educator Council, Advisory Council that the assistant superintendent had put together for the Family Advisory Council. The parents do have a voice in there. And I like the fact that the purpose of it was to, for all parents. It increased student achievement and improve homeschool communication. While I believe, and I will always stand on the merits of parents having a voice in their child's learning, and I believe it's critical. I know firsthand, just like I said before, I'm extremely proud of that committee that was put together by Dr. Register, and I pray that they keep going forward. Because it's being implemented now, and I think if we, like I said, I think we can come back to it, but right now, I think we need to keep going with what we have. And I really believe strongly in parents having a voice in their child's learning, their education. So, personally, my vote would be not right now. Stick with the committee that we got now and see how that worked, and just come back and bring it back later.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Shotwell, have you had a meeting with this parent advisory committee?
No, sir, I have not.
That was a previous interim. That was not set in stone. That was just a suggestion that I provided to Dr. Shannon Register. Okay, but I think we're mixing apples and oranges. This is a subcommittee. This is a committee that belongs to the Board of Education. The advisory committee, parent committee you were talking about, Catherine, is a link to the superintendent. Okay, that is to advise the superintendent. This is a committee directly accountable to the board. That committee that Shannon Register put together, at my advice, has nothing to do with this board. The ad hoc parent committee that I am asking for my colleagues to support is accountable to the board. So it's 2 different things. And if not now, when is it gonna be a good time? And why is it not a good time right now? Can somebody please explain to me why it's not a good time right now? What is it that we're doing? What is it that this board is doing that is so critical that we cannot have this ad hoc parent committee implemented should the time come for us to activate it for any information that the board might require from parents at large?
To answer one of your questions is, in your membership information, you said the committee chair can remove parents, and I said this before, for good cause such as poor attendance or violation of these rules. I really didn't see any rules. What are the rules? And then it also states in the meetings that the committee shall meet as needed each school year. How would that be deemed? How would we know when they need to meet? Who is gonna be the whole county staff who assists by posting these meetings, is it the same person who gonna put these agendas on the Hope County School website? I have a lot of questions, and I'm not saying that I don't want this committee, because I believe in parents strongly. Being a former teacher, my parents guided everything that I did in the classroom. So I don't want any parent in Hope County to feel like that I don't have their best interests at heart. Because I believe everybody that's on this board is speaking for parents and have a voice for the parents, that the parents can speak. I'm just saying, at this time, I think we can come back, bring it back, and look at it again.
Madam Chair. Thank you for your input, Catherine. Okay, I wish when Rob Malone sent this email to all of us with this last revision, I wish that everybody would have read it. And I wish, because on the last meeting I asked for input, I wish y'all would have provided me that information. I could have probably answered that.
I asked you that questions, the last time. I still didn't answer.
The questions you asked me, I did answer. I specifically said that we were gonna follow the same rules that the board here does. I mean, do we have any specific rules here? Here, no, we go by Robert's rules. We don't have any specific rules, to check the block when we conduct these meetings. We go by Robert's rules. That was one of the things that we said. To have very specific, I would push the question back to you. What kind of specific rules are you asking for?
I'm not sure, because you're the one that came up with it, so I was just assuming that you would have rules for us to look at. That's why I said we need to bring it back to the table.
I understand.
So when I was working on this, having talked to Ruben, the rules, so it was for attendance, and then the rules that we were highlighting would be not following the open meetings law, stuff that's in the bottom here, not following the open meetings law, not, the things that are in that last paragraph are the kinds of things that we were concentrating on. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess it could have been, better described.
And that's not only for us. If I don't come to the meetings, no one can kick me off.
No.
I mean, because you said the same rules as the board.
I would, Madam Chair, we can go around and around this, but I just assume that, in the spirit of, teamwork, I would appreciate it if everybody carefully reads the resolution. And if you have any questions, please email them to me so I can address them. And then we can move forward. If everybody here does not feel comfortable, vote under this, that's fine. But I'm just gonna keep putting it on the agenda until I get all the answers, to the questions that you're asking, and we can just modify it accordingly. So, Madam Chair, I ask that, all the board members, read it carefully, and so if it needs to be tabled, it can be tabled, but, other than Catherine, the last meeting when we did talk, nobody provided any input.
Attorney Malone, you said that you can simplify his rules and everything here.
Well, yeah, I was just saying that I think that when we said rules, we were thinking about such things as, keeping your documents as public records and abiding by the open meetings laws. And then the other main thing was just for attendance. So, what we could do is the board could put a period after good cause and just say the committee chair may remove parent, guardian, committee members for good cause and just put a period there. That would be one way to maybe address it, and then to just let good cause stand for its, what that otherwise kind of means. If you're trying to approve it tonight.
Can
Okay.
I can see where Ms. Blue's coming from. I do agree with some of the things she's saying, Ruben. I think you did a very good job explaining what you're trying to do, what they have for the attorney. But I just think at this time, I would like to make a motion to table this, discussion as it relates to the ad hoc committee to next meeting. October.
Okay, next October.
Second.
Okay, so, my question is, what are we gonna be, changing?
So what I'm assuming will happen is that people who have comments will get them to Ruben. And then, depending on when they come in, either Ruben and I or Ruben and Grace will work to revise this to try to get to a document that's better consensus that all the board members can support.
Okay, so then a motion on the floor to table this until October, I think it's the 10th, meeting. It's been second and discussed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. Let's see. So at this time, I need a motion, Madam Vice Chair, to go into closed session.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to go into closed session for the following reasons: to consider confidential personnel information protected under the North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A1A3, to consider the initial matters related to the initial employment of individual employees pursuant to the North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A6, and to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in the North Carolina General Statute 143, 311, 18A3.
Motion on the floor to go into closed session. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're gonna take about a 5-minute break. That one.